Good morning. Welcome to Monday. I see you headed up there, so we'll just get started.
Good morning, Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. Oops, I forgot. We have the financials for the review for corrections and offender services. And so if we want to bring those up. And we have Marin with us as well. So I'll do the financials first, and then Marin will be here to answer any questions if there's any operational questions. Okay, so we have the jail first. This isn't part of the general fund, so their revenues will not match their expenditures for budget. And on their revenues, we're still producing these financials based upon December for the fiscal year. So on the revenues, they have intergovernmental, which their actuals are at $507,446, which is $92,258 over budget. So positive variance there. On their goods and services, this is primarily where they bill other cities. And so their budget is $1,639,000. We're currently at $1,364,046. So we're under budget there, but we still have some outstanding billings for some of the cities, and we anticipate that those will be accrued and those will be booked by our auditor's office.
Are those just cities within our county, or we don't
Yeah.
deal with like Rainier or St. Helens or anything like that?
That's correct. All the local cities that could also include Department of Corrections.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have contracts with us. Miscellaneous, have a positive variance there. It's over budget by $2,913. And other financing sources is primarily this account, this department billing the behavioral mental health tax and getting reimbursed. And so the budget was $1,315,039. We're currently in receipt of $1,113,970. So we still have a few final invoices that haven't been processed yet. I'll go into the expenses.
Yeah. And that basically pays for the called MAT or whatever that is. That what that pays for?
It's part of the medical
Yeah.
services. On the expenses, the largest expense we have budgeted is our personnel, and that's $6,950,000 basically. And our actuals for the year are at $6,497,648. So we're significantly under budget. And all the payrolls have been booked for this. All of the accruals are in. Supplies are the next largest category. I failed to mention on positions as of this point in time, there's 7 open, and that's primarily, and last year you can see there were 9 open. So it's primarily it's the contributor to being under budget in our personnel. Supplies are $1,215,000 budget, and actuals were $896,933. Last week was the last week to turn in, I think, any 2024 invoices. So services, it's the next largest budget, which primarily has all of the medical cost there. And that's $4,998,459. We're currently at actuals for $3,796,045. So we're under budget on this. And then for capital, it was budgeted at 90,000, and we were anticipating one expense that's going to be moved to 2025, which is the Guardian RFID inmate tracking system. And it was proposed and budgeted for 2024, but it's now going to be contracted and expensed in 2025. And that ended up, we approved, I think, a budget of 55,000, and it's now going to be more like 34,000 with taxes or something like that, 35,000.
FTE, so we have 7 unfilled, so basically we have 55 FTE assigned to the jail corrections over there. And how long have those 7 been open, and how are we covering that?
Sure. So the 7 FTE or corrections officers positions, there are 42 FTE approved specific to corrections officers. So that's 7 out of the 42. We've been using temps. That's with the agreement of the guild. So we have temps working in our control room that offsets some of the positions we have open. And we have two of those are filled right now, starting mid-month this month. So that brings us to 5. It's a rolling number as we hire and people come and go. But currently, I believe we're at 5. That does not include people off on medical and military.
So we end up with the temps and stuff, does that put us close to the 42? I guess what I'm getting at, so we're operating with the number of FTE we say we need over there to operate. Let's use 42. But we have some openings, so we're filling that FTE with temps.
Correct. And then beyond that, filling it with overtime. So the temps are first, and then as overtime comes up, as the positions, as our shifts are short, then we're filling that with overtime, and then forced overtime if necessary. So we have strict minimum staffing levels. If it's 13 on day shift, it's 13 on day shift. We have to have that many people to operate that day. And much of those numbers are based on court needs, Monday through Friday during the day.
Right.
Okay.
Do you know, Kathy, how much we've spent on overtime?
No, I don't know, but I can get you that number, that what we've spent for 2024.
Yeah, would you mind? I guess it kind of, we found it in juveniles a little different animal. I'm not trying to compare you two here, but we found that they were using overtime. It was an ungodly amount, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to just look and kind of gauge what we're using over here to get this done.
Sure. And as we fill overtime and process our payroll, we every overtime is connected to a vacancy or a reason. So we audit that tightly. Why is that person here specific to, they're covering for this specific person that's off or this specific vacancy?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Marin, real quick. So of those FTEs, are those actual FTEs that need to be filled positions, or do you have like 2 that you are not planning on, filling that you left in the budget?
No, the 42 is what we need to operate. That's what we base our schedule on for the year.
So those 7 are actual
Positions
that need to be filled.
That's correct.
So it brings it has a number of 55. So we have 42 corrections officers, I think 6 supervisors.
6 sergeants, 3 clerks,
Okay.
and 1 kitchen manager.
Gotcha. Okay.
And 3 captains. I forgot about those guys.
Don't forget the
They'd be mad,
captains.
yeah.
Okay, I'll go now. Next, I'll go on to offender services. I think that's the next one that you have. Okay. So on offender services, again, this is part of the general fund. So our revenues do not equal expenditures. Intergovernmental, there's a budget of $78,000 and actuals are 51,178. So we're under budget on this revenue. This is intergovernmental revenues. I have a footnote that says these are made up of illegal dumping revenue through the Department of Ecology, and as well as driving impaired revenue that flows through the court system. And we don't anticipate that we're going to hit our revenue budget for that category
For 24.
for 24. And prior year, on that one, prior year actuals were basically $53,000.
Really have any control over this one.
Right.
Anyway, right? I mean,
Well, we've
it depends
restarted,
on what ecology does or the courts does.
well, we've
right.
restarted in custody work crew. So with COVID, we had, it was a very strange time with
Oh.
work crew. So we've made some changes with work crews
So
that
you get
began
some
it.
reimbursement.
in
when you have
August.
a crew out?
Well, it allows us to work for the cities and the school districts, which is what we've done in
I
the
got you.
past. But when we didn't have in custody work crew, the numbers were so unstable that we weren't able to fulfill those contracts. So I do anticipate we will see more revenue for 25.
Gotcha.
And then we have goods and services at 75,100, and we're currently at 67,400. So we're slightly under budget there. And then we have miscellaneous, so we're not going to make budget on miscellaneous. That was at $5,000. We'll go on to the expenses. And on the expenses, our largest area of expenses, of course, our personnel as well. It was budgeted at $1,092,766. We're significantly under budget at $883,146. And this is, as you can see, our FTEs. Currently, we have 7 positions filled and 1 position vacant.
Are these in addition to the 55 or are they part of the 55
In addition.
in addition?
Mhm. And then we have supplies as another expenditure line item. It's 15,600. Actuals are at 9,105, and we're under budget for this category, a little over $6,000. And then for services, we have budgeted $160,221. And we are currently at $145,013. So we're under budget in this category as well. The next set of financials are for jail concessions. This not very large. It's also part of the general fund. Not really large, but we have goods and services budgeted at 49,676, and we're slightly under budget at $43,652. And then for miscellaneous, we budgeted 50,000, and we're currently over budget on the revenue side for $53,469. And then for the expenses, we had budgeted 70,000 for supplies, and we're at $48,420, so we're under budget. And then services, we had budgeted 18,400, and we're also under budget on this category. Our actuals are $3,725. So we anticipate being under budget in this area for the year for 2024.
What exactly makes up jail concessions?
Sure. So these are funds the county receives from our phone system and commissary. So they're inmate generated funds, and long ago you had to track them separately and they were to be spent on inmate related programming and that sort of thing. So most counties still do it in that fashion. We use the funds generated from that for things like clothing for the inmate trustees, work crew items, and things like that, that benefit the inmate population.
And I just got that overtime number, 2024 jail overtime cost was 641,000. And of course, that number is already included in our actuals and our $6 million number.
Yeah, yeah, I just seen how it broke down.
So it's a little less than 10% of the budget.
And that's higher than normal. That's
Yeah.
probably higher.
And
than
that's just overtime, then is the temp then it's an additional from
That's correct.
there.
We've never had, I've never seen such a challenging time in hiring and corrections,
Yeah.
and it's not just specific to us. It's been really, really challenging, but we're trying a
Yeah,
few
I
different
know
things. Yeah.
all counties that I hear
Yeah.
talk about the same thing. I just,
With regards to the temps that we're using, how long do you think we're gonna be able to use them? Is there a time limit that was set by the union to allow us to do that?
Yeah, we're going back and forth with them, and I'll be meeting with the board about that. They've given us to the end of the year. using the
2025?
temps Through 25 to try to get positions filled. That's their tentative agreement.
we'll just pull them out of the sky.
And that's all I have. And as far as financials, the financials for the other departments today, we're not presenting those because they really haven't significantly changed since we last presented in January.
So risk management, building planning, we're not looking at?
Not at the financials, but they'll
Okay.
come up and give a presentation.
Okay. Perfect.
And
Thanks,
if
Mark.
there's any questions, other questions, otherwise complete.
Thank you. Risk management, Scott, Shelley.
Good morning. Happy February. February 3rd already.
Yeah, already.
Already. Well, here we go. Our February presentation. Some annex building updates. We finished the mitigation, moving into renovation and construction of this project. Facilities and IT are reviewing the site for any upgrades or needs that we'll have prior to the restoration of the building, but everything's going smoothly. And I forgot to introduce myself, Shelley Pierce, Risk Manager.
Scott Killian, Risk Analyst.
Sorry about that. And then our admin and annex building, like we stated last month, our alarm panel is severely outdated. So we've come up with a new alarm procedure until we have a new panel that can do individual codes for each staff member. So we've created a shared document for Fridays for when we have Friday staff on site, so that we're no longer having false alarms on a regular basis. There's a sign in and sign out sheet on SharePoint. And if you have any questions, just contact us. Last weekend was the first weekend we've had 0 false alarms. So it was a
You didn't have
win-win.
any commissioners trying to break in?
No one coming in, forgetting stuff, which is to be understood. Yeah. And then Safety Committee. Safety Committee, we are reestablishing by the end of Q1 for 2025. We are going to do a Safety Committee for the Admin Annex Museum WSU building and plan to have a Safety Committee established by the end of Q1. All departments are welcome. We're also doing an HOJ Safety Committee, which will be established separately. We'll be meeting once a quarter to review any safety and risk needs that we have for the county as well. Any questions so far? Okay. Turn it over to our workman's comp expert.
Thank you. So from our previous meeting, nothing has really changed, except that we had closed 3 claims in January and we had a new claim open in January. So that gives us a total of 8 claims so far that are currently open. We had closed out a claim from 2015, and then we had just opened up a new claim from 2022. It was an older claim that was reopened from a previous injury. So right now we're sitting at 8. And next slide, please.
Tell me how it gets reopened, because when you say reopen and it's from 2022, it would indicate to me at some point we thought it was solved.
Yeah.
So what triggers that?
In this particular claim, they had surgery in, they got injured in 2022, and then they had surgery in 2023. And it gets closed after it's been rolled out that there's no other issues and that they're able to return to work. But claims can be reopened if they have issues and they go to a doctor and the doctor is seeing that there's damage done to the injury or they're having pain, they can get reopened. And that's for any claim. So
So evidently, they thought they had it covered, but then they're still experiencing something that the doctor is telling us it's related to the
Mhm.
initial injury.
correct. Reopened claims from last year are actually, they're pretty rare from, we only had one that was reopened. This one, this person is getting looked at with an independent medical evaluation as well. So it's, we get secondhand opinion on these to make sure that we're doing the correct active response to these claims. And we do want these closed out as well. So surgery is likely for this person again.
Okay.
Any other questions on this? This is a year January comparison from our previous 5 years, between the ranges of 1 and 4, and for opening of claims in January and closed in January. Nothing really surprising from this month compared to the previous years. This just is an updated total of what we currently are owed and what we have paid for our open claims. Since the 2022 claim, we have already paid a substantial amount for their previous injury. It just adds on to that. So it starts out at whatever we had closed it off. And we are expected another 30 grand for that injury because of the surgery. This is basically it's that not much has changed since last reporting on this. More or less, we're around the same amount that we had previously reported for total estimated total cost and actual paid and outstanding.
Our total outstanding is the exact same for 23 and 24.
Yeah, we had closed out a claim that was yes, because these claims, this is just for open claims. So whatever we had paid, if nothing had changed between 2023 and 2024, nothing's changed.
Oh, so the total outstanding column isn't necessarily reflective of each individual year.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, these are just the claims that are, the years are when, I'm sorry, I'll clarify this a little bit better. The years are when the claims are opened. So In 2024, we had, those 6 were opened in 2024. The 1 claim in 2023 and the 1 claim in 2022. See, these are currently the open claims that we have that we are dealing with now. So in the claim in 2023 is the same as,
Kathy's saying that.
oh, yes, there is a mistake on this, actually. Yeah,
because
there is a mistake. Yeah.
And the total doesn't reflect the correct number on the outstanding either.
Okay. I will have to get back to you on that one and get you some updated numbers. Yeah, this is wrong. Apologies. We'll wrap around this again, and I'll get you guys the updated numbers. Next slide, please. This is the average days per claim by year. We are sitting at 112 days average for our claims. From the previous, so 2024, I have just included 2025 just because we've only been here for a month. So I just put those two together. 142 days for 2023. As you can see that there's a downward trend in our claims being opened. Next slide, please.
Actually, can we go back to that real
Mhm.
quick? Is the reduction in the days that the claims are open, is that due to the nature of the claim and or our process is changing?
It's a little bit of both. Sometimes, depending on the nature of the claim, it's inevitable for the claim to close any sooner. Typically, that is from claims with surgeries, or if the injury is extensive and they can't return to work, things of that nature. Yeah, that we don't really have control of, but processes as far as getting the claims in sooner, checking up on them regularly on any updates, and making sure that we're getting paperwork from the doctors, any IME reports that need to be updated. Those do actually make a bigger factor in closing down the average days. So in this case, 112 days is more than likely from the 2022 claim that had really affected this average.
We also meet with our claims representative team monthly to review each claim individually so that we're tying up any loose ends, any Q&A. So they're able to process their end, their paperwork much faster too, because we have open lines of communication with that partnership. And also we have 2 great people in risk management that really are helping the flow with making things move. So yeah.
So we're improving on the variables that we can control.
Yes.
Yeah. Since 2025 it just opened, so far we've only had 1 claim that was opened in 2025. $328 was that claim. That number obviously is going to keep going up for however many more claims we open with. So this is more of just trying to give some sort of resemblance to typically what we are going to experience throughout our year. $328 is actually on the very low end. This claim actually was closed pretty fast. So we're expected to be above the average of 2024. We had previously thought that number is going to be between 10 and 11,000 per claim for 2025.
And that's due to the rising cost of,
Rising cost of insurance and health and medical costs.
so how often do we, this independent third party organization that you're talking about, Shelley, how often do we meet with somebody to have them evaluate what our processes are, particularly if our costs are going to go up $3,000 per claim? How do we make sure that we're running as efficiently as we can? You know, per claim, is there somebody that comes in and says, hey, you guys can do this better, faster?
In our research, we found that there are some other vendors out there, but we're not sure that their customer service has been what we've received the last probably 18 months. I can say, and I can attest to this, that when we meet monthly, we're going over each claim individually, where we're at, what's the next steps, how close are we to closing this out. In talking to other counties, they don't have the relationship that we've built upon with our vendor. In fact, they're struggling to get claims closed. The communication isn't there. So I will say that I feel like we've been really lucky with our partnership with this particular vendor. Anytime we have a question or concern, they're Johnny on the spot to communicate to us. If they don't know the answer, they're going to do their research and get back to us.
Do we have an annual contract with them, or do we use them on an as-needed basis?
We do have an annual contract with them. Right now, we're working at resolidifying that contract. A lot of it has to do with banking, financials, who we bank with, who their vendor wants us to bank with. So right now, we're working with our treasurer office as well to make sure we've solidified all of that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Next slide, please. Just a comparison between what our average claims are costing. It's just a graph just to show that. Next slide, please.
Scott, do you happen to have access to data at other counties? Are they seeing this too?
I think just talking with our broker in Gallagher, she has seen that it's an increase across the board in the state of Washington. We don't have that necessarily in data from other counties. I'm not even sure if they're willing to share that. But just looking at what the costs are expected to be this year, just from projections, it seems like it's just hitting everybody. It's not just workers' comp as well.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I can see that costs are going up. It's just kind of if she doesn't have to give specific counties, but if they had the data to just show on average, we're seeing counties, their stuff rise. It's just kind of a nice check to know that we're not out of line with somebody.
Mhm. Yeah, we can reach out to some counties that are our size and kind of see where they're at for claims and costs. We, in our risk pool, Scott and I will reach out to trusted partners to kind of say, hey, we do this in our county. How are you guys doing it over there? So we'll reach out to some of our partners that we work with.
I think you're going to find the same, but I think it's just a nice check.
Yeah, checks and balances for sure.
And the thought just came to me, have we, if we haven't, it might be something that we could do. Have we done any analysis in the relationship between the amount of overtime hours that we're paying within certain departments and where the claims are coming from, if there's a relationship there?
No,
Good point.
no, but that's something that I can definitely look into.
We can
Yeah.
post some queries on that.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely make that.
This one.
So this slide is to go over currently what we had in January compared to our previous 2 years. We only have one from the jail. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the jail went a full year without any injuries. And I had mentioned that in our previous meeting, and then it was 2 days later, they got an injury. So I don't know what that really is telling us, but there's
It's
that.
telling us it's your fault.
Jinxed
I
it.
think so. I think it might be. Yeah. Parks and Recreation as well as the roads administration, it's good start for the year, for the county. I believe this is the lowest year besides 2021 to start out with, injuries in January, so. Yeah. And any questions on this one?
Okay, next slide. This is our liability claims wrap up. Beginning of January, we had 16 claims. We closed no claims in January, no new claims, and we are litigating one claim. And that is our end of January report. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Shelley. Scott.
Thank you.
Building and planning.
I'm snuffy. Sorry. Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning. I've got Doug and Mike and Adam here. We are coming here to look for board support. We have, shall we say, beaten the horse to death when it comes to private roads and some options that we have. We have had 9 BPAC meetings, Building and Planning Advisory Committee meetings. We have 16 draft versions that we've worked on, beaten down, looked at sentences, looked at every kind of possible way we could move forward to minimize costs to applicants, to lessen development standards. So the common homeowner type developer can save and reduce some costs. I thought that was very important. So what we're coming here today to look for board support is taking the county engineer out of the equation for the short plats. Those are land development up to 4 lots. So that would be what we're looking for in moving forward today. Currently, the county engineer signs off on all of the short plats. The third lot of any short plat or any driveway triggers a private road standard. We're trying to raise that to the 5th lot, so then it does not hit private roads. The easement width currently is 60 feet. The loan design weights are higher. Design speed, the criteria is higher. Currently, the surface width has to meet a minimum of 20 feet, and we're looking to even possibly reduce that down to 14 feet. We're following the PA's guidance. Mr. Jensen recommended a 3-tiered approach, possibly driveways and private road access. Just the driveway approach alone is the first tier. The second one is private roads for smaller developments, which is what we're looking for, the support today. And then the larger developments would be 5 and more. And those would still meet the county road standards that are set in place by memo. They still would go to the county engineer, but pulling these 4 lots and less and not having the third lot trigger private roads would really help our developers with a ton of out-of-pocket expenses. Reducing the standards to where they're meeting more of a fire type road with emergency services, taking the county engineer out of that picture. So we're here today. I know you've been CC'd on several emails back and forth of different drafts. I also have a draft table of just kind of like what it would look like. I drop it off for you. Sorry.
Thank you. Doug, your flashlight's on your phone.
I think that the big piece is taking any liability to her license off the table. That's
That
that's
is
a-
correct.
That's a big piece.
That is correct. So with,
And
With
moving that up so it's 5 instead of 3,
yes,
that's a little more lenient. it really kind of started with, two sisters that were wanting to build, and to get the road, they were getting a bill of like $90,000 to fix this.
Yep. And we're looking to help solve that problem, reduce timelines, and also just that out-of-pocket expense is absurd. It really is. So what we're looking to do is, we would have to, we would be revising our short subdivision ordinance. And so we'd be repealing certain sections to remove the county engineer and to, we would have an internal policy to show something like so staff could just look at it in-house and work them through the process, but it'd be more like an excavation and grading type private road, permit that they would be applying for with the lesser standards.
So based on the correspondence that I was reading with, that we were going back and forth with Doug, we're not necessarily changing any of our requirements to the code. We're just changing the process to which they're approved, just standardizing
Correct.
certain things.
Correct.
Yeah.
And only repealing certain sections and replacing them or updating them. So just to take her stamp piece out of the mix so we can review them in-house. And removing her name off the final short plat signature as well. It'd be just my signature and the treasurer's. Right now, we have all three. It'd be currently it's county engineer, the county treasurer, and myself.
Yeah, well, we've talked, I think this
Forgetting
is a
anything?
good step forward. Been working on this the two plus years.
It's time.
I've
We
been
got to move
here.
forward.
And we thought we had something and then we didn't. And now we're adding this D and taking her license out of the question on it. And we're finally making a little bit of headway. I think there
Hope so.
still are the things that BPAC wants to look at, but this solves a lot of I don't know of a lot. It solves some issues that I hear most frequently for the small,
Yep.
just like the two sisters wanting to build
Yep.
houses or something of that nature. So.
And pardon my ignorance on this as I'm learning it, but is this going to help play into the fact that with the state's new legislation that they're passing with regards to timeframes on permits? Is it going to help with the timing of how long it takes to get permits issued, and it's going to be a cost savings to the builder also?
If the House bill that I think you're talking about refers to growth management counties, which we are not, but we would, I'm assuming, follow suit with, yeah.
Yeah, the courts have generally treated non-GMA counties, or what are now called partially planning counties, as generally being under the same guidelines for permitting timelines as GMA counties.
Would
agree.
it be safe to say if you're taking the county engineer out of the loop, then it's got to bring timeframes down, because that's a whole.
Right, we would keep it in-house and it would just go through normal process like our short plat. Currently, we have 30 days to get the preliminary approval out, so that would be part of this.
So I'm pretty sure it will, but I don't know.
I mean, there'll always be a loophole. There'll always be something a developer or somebody will work through. However, this is a way to reduce in costs and we think lighten the standards and then update the process.
Yeah, from what I read and what I understand, it's extending a service to the consumer, to the citizen,
That's what we're trying to
which
do.
which is good.
So with your blessing today, we'll move forward with a SEPA review in the two-week comment period, and then we'll take it to Planning Commission, and then it'll circle back around for the board to a public hearing. We appreciate your support. Have
Yeah.
any questions of us so we can answer? I know you both have kind of you're always on BPAC, but I know you were hitting it prior to the campaign, or during the campaign, so it's nice to have you hearing what
Yeah.
their concerns were along the way.
Well, and the communication between Doug's office and you guys has been pretty thorough and good. I've gained quite a bit of knowledge from that,
Well,
so.
We appreciate all of Doug's assistance and
Yeah.
support along the way.
So Commissioner Dahl and BPAC, the Achilles heel with the way they were approaching it is not changing the county code to try to continue to go to the road standards. And so what we've done is change the code, and now any changes to the actual policies be run through building planning, which reduces the complexity
Yeah,
substantially.
good.
That's the only issue.
Looks like a move in a good direction to me, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we'll probably have agenda review. I don't see OFM in our public works, so probably about 10. Okay. We can take a recess till they show up. Okay, we're back. Going over agenda item review. I see OFM. There we go.
Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. I have on the agenda for tomorrow, consent agenda, for amendment number 3 to the agreement with Security Solutions Northwest. This is the firm that's putting in door access and security cameras at the Hall of Justice. And unfortunately, they're still not complete. So we need to, number one, extend the contract date because the last amendment had them expiring January 31st. And so we want to update that to be now February 28th. And then we also had some additional work that was unforeseen related to mounting some of the cameras on the exterior of the building, elevating them higher so that we can see over the trees and see the parking lots better and things like that. So, and then intercom at the main entrance. So just various different items. But in total, the contract will now be $351,576. And we have sufficient funding through grants, contributions from facilities and IT. There were 2 grants, phase 1 and phase 2. So we have sufficient funding. That includes an estimate that's not to exceed that amount. It includes an estimate for overtime, and I believe we'll be under that amount when everything's said and done. But just to be on the precautionary side, that's the total amount of the amendment.
Kathy, how much more is that than the First Amendment extension?
Yeah, so the very first contract was, the first contract was a little over 200,000. And then we came in and did an amendment for 240,356. So it's about a little over $110,000 more than the original. But like I said, the original was just based upon the first grant from the state, which was like 117,000 of that total. And then they gave us an additional grant, which I think that grant was, whoops, I have my number here. The additional grant was 51,000. So of that total, a little over almost 170,000 was from the AOC grant, the state grant.
So when they give us an estimate, they're not giving us an estimate based on what the job is going to cost. It's just based on the grant that they're going to get.
No, when the vendor gives us a cost, they are line item every item that they're bidding on, and that's the price that will be included in their invoice. The grant was, when they submitted the grant, they had estimated what projects or what items they wanted to have in that grant. And it was all for security cameras and door access.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So for example, phase 2 was adding the additional evidence rooms on the basement floor for the sheriff's office. And then there was another item that they had estimated in there that we didn't end up having to do. So then we reappropriated those funds for a different door lock mechanism. So
these amendments were actually part of the plan in the beginning due to the grants. And is this extension that we're doing to February 28th, was that one also planned?
no, originally we anticipated that this project would be finished well before December, but because of having to do overtime hours after the courts are no longer in session, it actually delayed the project. So, we've had some delays along the line, and then we've had some starts and stops because of the contractor not being able to complete and having to go to another project and come back to this project.
So is it primarily because they're having to work around our schedule with the courts?
Yes, that's the primary reason for the extension.
Thanks.
And they say they'll be finished this week, but I'm taking it all the way to the end of the month, just in case we have to call them back out for something to troubleshoot something.
Typically, Kathy, is there a variance that's not acceptable from what the original amount is and time frame to where we're at now? Or do we
Well-
decide that? How is that decided?
Well, best practice, this is not I'll be honest, this is not an acceptable change. But it's also unusual because we added phase 2, not knowing that we were going to get additional grant funds. And then also we not only got additional grant funds, but we also got an additional funds from the AOC. So we got phase 2 grant funds, and after phase 1 was done, the state had some leftover money for this specific type of project, and they awarded it to us without us asking. So we decided to take advantage of that and utilize those funds to the fullest extent possible to get a complete project. So
So there are a couple of variables that contributed to it.
yes, there's variables on our end that contributed to change orders and requesting additional items. But when they first started this project, they actually bid on the project and did it where they prioritized those things that we wanted as the most important. And then they also gave us pricing for additional items if we were to get the grant to an additional funding. So we completely did a evaluation of the entire building when we were starting out.
So we started at a certain scope and then we expanded the scope because other money came in. And this one is, how you describe it, are these outside cameras additional?
Yes,
I mean, or were they always there? I mean,
no,
I'm sitting here going, how did they not know they had to, they needed to be above a tree
Yeah.
or they needed above it? How did they not know that?
I don't know that part, but these are additional cameras that we asked for because we felt like there wasn't enough security views of the east parking lot. Primary, they always had a camera on the north parking lot, and we replaced that one with the upgraded system. And then we added a camera on the south parking lot. And this was the last one that was added. And we really felt like because we had a fall recently near that east parking lot, we felt like we really needed to get a good camera view, and we didn't have a camera there that really got a specific view of the east parking lot.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that probably makes more sense. It sounds like we said, hey, we've decided we need a camera over there, and they've gone and looked and said, okay, well, we'll have to go above this tree, or we'll have to do this, and
Yep.
And does risk management make that decision? Are they the ones that are involved in
On
that?
the camera, it's collaborative. Risk management's looking at some of the risk elements, but we also talk with the Superior Court is the entity that received the grants from the state. And so they're the ones that put the original and the phase 2 in. So we talk with the sheriff office because they're actually ultimately responsible for the security of the building. So we discuss it with various entities. And
but we
the
think this is the last
records,
time we're gonna see this thing?
this is the last time I'm coming here on the Hall of Justice security cameras.
We'll know that next week though, right?
Right, right.
Ian shows up and says, I'm here for Kathy.
Yeah, it's somebody else. I'll send somebody else. But so for example, at the entryway, we had a telephone previously. It's a 24/7 operation there because your records office is working. And if someone comes after hours, they would come in the vestibule, pick up a phone device and be connected to records in order to let them in. Now, instead of a phone, we have an intercom. It's now mounted to the outside of the building, so no one has to come in. We don't have to leave the vestibule open 24/7 any longer. So everything's on the outside of the building, and we added some additional cameras to facilitate that intercom and just making sure who's there is legitimate. So those are the kinds and we consult with that department that's wanting those services.
Okay. That was
Okay.
your item,
That was my item.
Thanks, Kathy.
Public Works.
Morning, Commissioners. Sean
Morning.
Rowe, Public Works. Today, I have two items to talk with you on from the consent agenda. Item number 2 is a completion letter with Peak Environmental for the relocation of monitoring wells at Tenant Way Landfill. This is in conjunction with the property sale, and it's all going to be reimbursable through the Port of Longview on that sale process. Those are in place, completed, and we're still moving forward with that sale process. And then item 3 here is an agreement with Core Solutions for the on-call electrical services. I don't know if you recall, a few weeks ago, we awarded that, and this is just the contract following through on that. And this is up to $100,000 on as-needed basis.
Sean, do we typically exhaust that contract? Do they use all 100,000 typically?
This is the first year doing an on-call contract like this. I don't anticipate exhausting it fully. I do anticipate it being used more frequently on smaller projects. Any other questions for me?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning, Commissioner Savannah Clement, Public Services. My item is actually on motion for tomorrow, and it is the award of the water meters, which we talked about last week. I have my same handout from last week, and no additional changes. I think that the amount will be much higher in this award than the actual contract amount, but of course, that contract will come in front of the board as well. So unless there's other questions? No.
No, I just want to say thank you for your work on that. It sounds like it's going to be better for the consumer, making that change.
That's our hope for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's all we have from Public Works.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. There's an array of warranty deeds for right-of-way purposes listed. Those have also already been through the board, from my understanding, and they're being put through consent just to be part of the record. So these are the ones that I believe Chair Dahl was allowed, approved to sign. Now they're just going through consent. I believe Susan is online if you had any questions on any specific ones.
Oh, I don't. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I don't see anything else for agenda. Jessica's here. You want to just, we have some executives. I was just going to say, do you want, I'm guessing the executive sessions are going to take some time. Why don't we, if you're okay, we'll move it down to the volunteer board committees with Cam. Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am Kim Bocut with the Cowlitz County Event Center, and this is a new item on the agenda that I have not participated in before because I don't think we have done it. So the volunteer boards and committees, I was just asked to talk about the fair and the rodeo boards. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Which ones do we have opening on? Is it the rodeo one that we have an opening? Okay.
I don't believe we have an opening on either board right now.
You
I think
you're
we
full?
had a renewal, but it came in last week.
Okay. So we need to approve Bill Murray's redoing that. And which one was he on?
Bill's on the rodeo board, and he's been a 40-plus year member of the rodeo board.
Yeah. I think what we're just looking at is to what, we have all these and what are we asking them to do?
Correct.
And I
Okay.
think that's kind of what we're looking for.
Sure. And I mean, we could go on hours and hours about the fair and rodeo because who wouldn't want to, but I won't. The fair board is a full board right now. Both boards help with the production of the fair and the rodeo. They used to be, the rodeo board used to be it was a subcommittee of the fair board, but the rodeo kind of took on a life of its own, and so they have their own board. They meet, they have two different meetings. The fair board meets the first Wednesday of the month at 6 o'clock. Both of these meetings are open to the public, by the way. And then the rodeo board meets the last Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. Both meetings are at the event center and open to the public. The fair board is an advisory board. Both boards are advisory boards. They are involved in the production of the fair and the rodeo. We always appreciate people with kind of a business mind that can help us from a high level, but also that don't mind getting their hands dirty and helping out with different aspects depending on what their strengths are. The rodeo board is, they spend a lot of time at the rodeo grounds. They are doing welding, they're digging ditches, they're fixing equipment. They do a lot of different things over there. So they're a little bit more of a hands-on board than the fair board is, but again, that just depends on who the board members are. The fair board is full now, and we have some newer members that are real go-getters, so it'll be interesting to see what's coming up. In the past, when people have applied, I'll usually send over their application if I get it and give a little bit of history of, if we know the person or not. It's always appreciated when people that apply actually come to some of the meetings or they've had some sort of involvement in the fair and the rodeo, and most people do.
How many people sit on the rodeo board?
It's 11 on the
11.
rodeo board. And so that was so it used to be
On board, huh?
yes, we have a 7-member fair board, I believe, or it was 9, but they left the rodeo board larger because at the time when they divided them, the rodeo, it was a committee at the time and it was so large and they didn't want to ask people that had been on there for decades to step off. So they made the board as big as it was at that time. But it is a large board.
And they actually help with putting on a rodeo?
They do.
Because I know the one gentleman is always out there with the tractor and they're doing different things.
Yep. I should have brought we have a list of jobs. And at the beginning of the season, everybody kind of sits down, looks at the jobs and says, I'll take that, I'll take that. But we have anywhere from maintenance of equipment, working the ground. We have what's called a shoot boss that kind of helps the animals moving in and out. We have an arena director that helps with that works with the grand entry folks and the announcer and the scoreboard. So lots of there's a sponsorship person that helps with sponsorship.
Kim, is there someone from your department that's represented on those boards?
I go to both meetings. Miley Walker Cook in our office is our fair and expo coordinator. So she's the liaison mainly with the fair.
So if they see a need, and I'll just talk about a little bit what we talked about last year when I was out there at it. Some, I don't know if you want to call it grandstands, but seating behind the chute, something does that start with them? And then if you wanted to pursue it, it would come through you?
Correct. If it's volunteer work, because they have a lot of ideas, they meet monthly and they have, they just had their January meeting. So they said, okay, let's start compiling our list of what we want to get done for the rodeo. And they start, okay, well, and the nice thing about this board is that when they have ideas, it's not, hey, we had this idea, Kim, can you and your staff take care of this? It's, okay, we need to get this done. Their idea this year is they want to create some box seats in the beer garden. And there was never an ask of what can the county do for us or what can your department do for us? It's, we want to do this. Okay, so we have a connection with this company and this company. Let's see if we can get some equipment donated. Let's see what we can do. And they're just a buzz amongst themselves, which is really nice with that board. The Fair Board has had some changeover in the last few years, but again, we have a really robust Fair Board now that's really got a lot of ideas and kind of organizing those ideas to move forward. So I'm excited with that too.
So this gentleman that's up for renewal, I'm guessing we want to keep him.
Yes, please.
Just as a side question, Kim, the rodeo sold out all 3 days this year, which I don't know, I don't think that's a common occurrence. Do we know what attributed to that? Or can we put our finger on what it was? Because it seemed like there was a lot more seating around the edges and sides too.
So every year we try to increase our seating to answer that. So we have our main grandstand, and then the beer garden has grown in popularity. On the north end of the grounds, we have some seating that we reserve for VIPs, sponsors. At least one night, we try to get them in there 3 nights. If the sponsors don't want that, then we open that up to general seating. This year, we were able to do all online ticket sales. So I believe the big thing was Thursday night sold out. Friday and Saturday night has always sold out. Friday night typically gets close or does sell out. The last few years, it has sold out. Thursday night has always been our night that we have first responders that we recognize, military night. We have some coupons that we give out at parades to help promote, and it's for kids to get in free with a paid adult. So we have a lot of our promotions on Thursday night. So all that combined, we did sell out on Thursday night. But I think a lot of it was that online availability that we used a different ticket platform this year, and they helped us market, and really just that word of it's less expensive on Thursday night. There's more deals on Thursday night, helped us get that word out there. So we're hoping moving forward that wasn't just a fluke and we continue to sell out.
Yeah, good.
I was there. I did the Thursday show and the Saturday show, but I just hung out. This sounds worse than it is. I didn't drink a lot, but I hung out in the beer garden because you're kind of right over where a lot of activity is going. It's actually a good place to watch the show. Yeah.
It is one of the best places to watch the show. And that's just been since COVID that was created, the beer garden end. And there are a lot of people that stand there just to watch it and not necessarily
They're
drink. But
bringing in their lawn chairs and they filled up the whole front. So I see where they get the box seats from. They can make a little money off of that.
mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think we're okay with renewing the guy.
Yeah.
And is this something that you'll do moving forward as we have renewals that you'll bring me over, or is it?
Well,
Is it a
I
new
don't know if
process?
you need to come over every time. I mean, you're certainly welcome, but I think these first few times, when I came on, I guess what I can tell you where this generated, when I come on, I started getting these sheets of people, these committees, and I'm going, what do these things do? What do we want these committees to do? So, and to this day, until you sit here, I didn't really know you had that many on rodeo and what their function was and what they tried to do. So I think it's just helpful for us to know what do we expect these committees to do. So when we're putting people on there, we kind of have an idea where you want it to go.
Definitely. And a lot of times we'll have volunteers that have volunteered for years. In fact, one of our newer board members, he's been a volunteer, and his kids have volunteered for us since they were in middle school. And I knew that there was going to be a position coming available because somebody was moving out of the area. And I said, I'd really like you, to be on the board. He said, oh, I just don't want to be on a board. I like to be here and I like to help and I'll get my hands dirty, but I don't want to be on a board. Well, long story short, he's on the board and now he's an officer but anyways, that's kind of where a lot of our board
You're
members
kind
come
of
from.
Persuasive, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and on top of what Chairman Dahl said, I know for me, when he asked, so we want him on the board, you enthusiastically said, absolutely. Whereas if you would have said, sure, that, because I don't know these guys from Adam, so I'm really relying on your input to whether or not we want this individual on the board. So just by your response is a good thing for me to see.
Yeah,
So
and I appreciate having
it.
input, because I do work directly with them and we do have different positions. And so,
Well, that's why I asked if you had representation from your department on those boards so that we could get an idea as to whether or not we want to renew this person's, board membership.
definitely,
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Last year, we took heat a couple times because it felt like we weren't working hard enough to put people on. There was too many vacancies on different things. So we're trying to clean a little bit of that up too. And if we have all these boards, they should function the way that they were designed to function. And so I think this helps that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we don't have openings, I always still encourage people that have applied. Well, I've applied and I've not heard it from anybody. Here's our meeting times, please come. You don't have to be a voting member because there are very few things that we actually vote on. It's just a lot of discussion and we love people's input.
Yeah.
So,
And that's a great point because I think all of these committees are public meetings if you have an interest in that area, you don't have to be on the board, but you can participate and you can comment and do all that. I don't think people realize that or think they have that ability.
yeah, if we get calls during fair, after fair, or why don't you do this? Or why don't, or online even when we see comments, I always invite people, please come to our meetings. We want to hear, your ideas or your thoughts. And, we can't help everybody because everybody wants free rides and everything free, and we can't do that. But they could, if they have ideas to help us with sponsorship to maybe cut the cost of some of those things, we're open to those. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for your time.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thanks for switching me around. Thank you, Jessica.
Hey, Miss Jessica.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I do have a few requests today. The first comes from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office. He's requesting to start a new Senior Deputy Prosecuting Attorney at Step 3. This would be starting April 1st. He has an employee coming from out of town with a significant amount of experience.
Okay.
Good, that one. Okay. Next item is a request to fill from OPD. They're requesting to fill a public defense attorney position. This is a currently budgeted position. The employee is no longer with us.
Okay.
And then next one comes from corrections. They're requesting to fill a food service manager position. The employee just put in her notice with a February 21st end date.
Okay.
And then the last request to fill I have comes from Public Works. It's an operator 1 at Kalama Shop along with any domino effect. The employee has already put in his notice and is leaving town.
Okay.
Okay. And then I just have executive sessions. Mike here. Okay, so you might be back there. Okay. So executive session for performance of a public employee and collective bargaining.
And timeframes, any idea?
10 minutes each, so 20 total.
Okay, so we'll go into executive section for performance of a public employee, 10 minutes, and collective bargaining, 10 minutes. Okay.
back there.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 15 minutes until 11:10 a.m.
If I'm transmitting or something, it's like a CD will step on each other. So if it ever goes automatically to voicemail, just call me back immediately. Just hang up and call right back. We're stepping on each other. We just tested. Yeah, she tried calling me the other, like Friday. Yeah, and she said it was straight to voicemail. So that's the only thing I could think. Yeah, reoccurring lady. It's crazy. Never been called a faggot so many times in 1 minute. Yeah, it's like, ooh. On the east side of the building, at 6 o'clock in the morning, she was camped out there, with all of her belongings. She had one, I couldn't tell it was a person because she's, leaning into the building with a blanket over. And I went up there, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm waiting for a ride. It's like, okay. So I was gonna wait till Scott showed up. So what do you want me to do? So then he's like, yeah, well, I didn't room. So I went out there and gee, this is crazy. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess she came back like later in the day or something and was, yeah, screaming and hollering in the thin air. It's just like, she left a bunch of her stuff too, And so I went and got a box and I boxed it all up, like her purse and stuff, And, did she bring it down? No. She's different. The one like she's the bathroom, she's highly organized. She parks her car out there, everything's all wrapped up and organized. This is a different. Security.
Right. So I sent a script when they go.
Yes. Maybe you ready to do it or?
Yeah, I don't, yeah, do that, this,
Hey, she just said there's a mic on here. So.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 15 minutes until 11:25 a.m.
Okay, back from executive session, no decisions rendered. I'll turn it to Jessica.
Jessica Warren, Human Resources again. I have a few more items to request. The first comes from Public Works, and it's to reclassify one of their water sewer operators to a water sewer foreman, which would include a salary grade change to 290, which is a 5% increase.
Okay,
Then the next item is to reclassify their survey manager from salary grade 560 to salary grade 570, which is a 5% increase. The employee will be taking on additional duties and some more direct reports. And then the next item is the request to fill an engineering manager position at salary grade 605. And then the last request is the request to fill the facilities maintenance manager at salary grade 570, along with any domino that could occur.
okay.
And that's all I have. Thank you, commissioners.
And I have down here risk management. Do we have we need an executive session for potential litigation? Any idea on time, Shelley?
We're requesting 10 minutes for review and acceptance.
Okay. So we'll go back into executive session for potential litigation, estimated 10 minutes. Okay, we are coming out of executive session after being updated on a matter of pending litigation and a potential settlement involving our Washington County's risk pool insurer. No decisions were made. The board is authorizing Kathy to sign off on any documents associated with any such proposed settlement. So with that, I would call for any miscellaneous stuff. We all good? Okay. No other business that I see, we will adjourn. Thank you.